Why didn't Spain annex Portugal? Although Portugal and Spain were at one point in history part of the same union, and Spain did indeed invade Portugal during the Napoleonic era, Portugal's territory was never actually conquered or annexed by the Spanish kingdom. Portugal's only neighbor on the European continent is Spain, a country much larger in size. For centuries, Spain was once one of the most powerful nations in the world, expanding its influence into the New World and Asia, possessing vast overseas colonies, and maintaining formidable armies and navies. Considering Spain's rise and the small country squeezed along the Atlantic coast beside it, we can't help but ask, why was Portugal never conquered by Spain? To answer this, we must return to history. The Iberian Peninsula was originally named Hispania by the Romans. However, after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the territory was occupied by the Visigoths, who eventually ruled the entire peninsula. In this context, a rising new force from afar was about to conquer the Iberian land. This force began as a religious movement in the Arabian desert. Through early military victories against the Romans and the Persian Empire, it spread rapidly. By the end of the 7th century, the scale of Arab expansion had reached the Atlantic coast. Islam gradually became the dominant religion in these empires. Spain had once been an ancient province of the Roman Empire, where Latin language and culture were deeply rooted. On April 30, 711, the Muslim general Tariq landed at Gibraltar. By the end of his campaign, most of the peninsula had fallen under Islamic rule. The presence of Islam in Spain began in the 8th century amid waves of conquest that also affected the Frankish realm. Many regions were reclaimed, yet large Muslim populations remained in the Iberian Peninsula. Their territory became known as Al-Andalus. For the next several centuries, part of the peninsula's population continued practicing Islam, and these Muslim-majority areas were mainly located in what is now Spain. The territory corresponding to today's Portugal, however, became one of the earliest areas on the Iberian Peninsula to form an independent state. Portugal rose earlier than Spain. Its statehood began in 1128 under the leadership of Afonso Henriques, who, in the early 12th century, declared himself King of Portugal. This act was considered part of the Reconquista. In 1143, he received recognition from Alfonso VII of Leon, and in 1179, he was acknowledged by the Pope. What we know today as Spain began in 1479 with the dynastic union of the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon. But it was not until 1516 that the two kingdoms officially merged into a single state. Here lies a crucial historical turning point. During the Castilian War of Succession, Portugal supported Joanna, wife of King Afonso V of Portugal, while Aragon supported Isabella, wife of the future King Ferdinand II of Aragon. This event was decisive. If Joanna had won, Portugal and Castile might have unified, and Portugal might have continued as an independent kingdom. Before this, Spain was merely a geographical term referring to the Iberian Peninsula. It wasn't until the Constitution of 1876 that the term Spain was officially adopted as a national name. During the Reconquista, Portugal, Castile, and Aragon were allies, jointly retaking lands in the south from Muslim rule, steadily expanding across the peninsula. Portugal completed its Reconquista in 1249, while Castile didn't finish until 1492. The same year Spain sent Columbus to the Caribbean. In 1494, under the Treaty of Tordesillas, the two countries divided newly discovered lands in the New World. Portugal acquired its most important colony, Brazil. In 1578, King Sebastian of Portugal died without an heir in the Battle of Alcácer-Quibir against Morocco and the Ottomans. His great-uncle Henry succeeded him, but also left no heir. His death triggered a severe succession crisis. The main contenders were King Philip II of Spain and Antonio. After the Portuguese War of Succession, Spain's Philip II was crowned King of Portugal in 1581. Beginning nearly 60 years of the Iberian Union, this period marked the decline of the Portuguese Empire. Only after the Portuguese Restoration War in 1640, when the House of Braganza regained power, did Portugal restore its independence. In the 18th century, European powers frequently clashed to maintain balance. Portugal and Spain were usually on opposing sides. Portugal long maintained an alliance with Britain, while Spain was tied to the French Bourbon dynasty. In 1762, during the 7 Years' War, Spain launched an unsuccessful invasion of Portugal with the support of 42,000 French and Spanish troops. The invasion was defeated by Anglo-Portuguese forces. Portuguese nationalist guerrillas adopted scorched earth tactics in the mountains, cutting enemy supply lines. Ultimately, the Franco-Spanish forces failed to win the Battle of Villa Velha and suffered around 30,000 casualties. Historians note that Spain's failure was due to multiple plan changes, replacing commanders at critical moments, misallocation of resources, and the strategic mistake of attempting to invade Portugal from both land and sea. In 1777, the two countries clashed again over colonial borders in South America. In 1801, influenced by France, Spanish troops invaded Portugal. This War of the Oranges became a prelude to the Peninsular War. Under the Treaty of Badajoz, Portugal lost territories including Olivença, setting the stage for the full-scale 1807 Franco-Spanish invasion of Iberia. In 1807, Spain, allied with France, successfully invaded Portugal, but the French then decided to control both countries, overthrowing the Spanish king and forcing the Portuguese royal family to flee to Brazil. For the first time in centuries, Spain and Portugal allied with Britain against France in the Peninsular War, which lasted until 1813. The war caused massive economic destruction in both countries and severely reduced birth rates. After the war, both colonial empires declined sharply. American colonies seized the opportunity to fight for independence amid their overlords' crises. In the following decades, Spain and Portugal lost nearly all of their New World colonies. After Napoleon's fall, the two countries often came close to war again in the early 19th century. Since the 14th century, Portugal and Spain had been maritime rivals. Portugal was the first to open Atlantic routes, discovering Africa's largest gold sources in the Arab world. Gold traveled by camel caravans across the Sahara. But during the age of exploration, the main target of both countries was not European land, but overseas wealth. New goods from Asia and the Americas flooded European markets. Silver from the Americas was vital to Spain's economy. To protect these commercial interests and its overseas colonies, Spain had to focus its efforts on defending territories abroad. After the 19th century, plans for unification between Spain and Portugal became rare. Some Portuguese advocated an Iberian federation of 7 republics. Spain's first republic drafted a federal constitution contemplating the inclusion of Portugal. During the Spanish Civil War, the Second Republic also considered invading Portugal or forming an Iberian republic. None of these plans succeeded. For centuries, Portugal was not an especially attractive target for conquest. Of course, history is full of attempts, and many key moments could have changed the fate of both nations. Considering the founding backgrounds of the two countries and centuries of historical events, there are many reasons why Portugal was never conquered by Spain. Spain lacked strong interest in Portuguese territory, focusing instead on overseas colonies. Portugal's diplomatic strategies, internal conflicts within the Iberian Union, post-merger issues between Castile and Aragon, and various external factors, all collectively shaped the situation we see today.